Hello and welcome to a new season 4 of We Are Here Too, a podcast about mental health and life abroad. You may know me by now. My name is Francesca. I'm an Italian counsellor living in Scotland. Yes, I still live here. We're going for year 13 this coming June. And it's been 2 years since I started this podcast. And things evolved in a very strange ways. I loved and I'm very thankful for the support you've showed, especially in the last 6 months that I haven't broadcast a single episode, and still many of you downloaded my episodes and listened to them and reached out, and I'm so incredibly grateful for all of this type of support. And I've listened to you guys, and I decided that season 4 will just be about relationships. I know many of you approach me with different themes around this, and so let me share a bit with you about what this new season is all about and the topics of this episode. So let's get it started. This past January, I started further training in couples and relationship therapy. And as I was about to update my website so I could add this offer, I was like, okay, what is it that I know best about couples and relationship therapy? What do I think I actually can add the extra value? And I was like, I know a lot of stuff about cross-cultural dating. I know a lot of stuff about cross-cultural relationships. And then in all of this, I was in the process of producing the new episodes, so researching and writing and brainstorming ideas for my podcast. And of course, the two things merged together, and I was like, yeah, of course. Everyone is asking me or is introducing to me the topic of relationships abroad in many different nuances, and what best way to do an entire season around this, considering that the way that we move around the world is very relational. And I decided that for this season I wanted to give it different layers. So just to be very clear, it's not going to be just about intimate relationships. It's not just going to be about the relationship with our parents. Okay, but it's going to be a journey that I hope you can join me in, about the relationship that we have with ourselves, with others, with the environment, the relationships that we create, the connections that we make, our relationship to the different spaces and places we inhabited, our relationship to old places, our relationship to moving again, to returning, the way that we make sense of who we are based on the relationships that we form at all different levels. I really want this season to encompass all of this. And I thought that the best way to do that is actually to start with the relationship with ourselves in episode 1. Moving abroad is a major life transition, and I say major, no matter how exciting and organized that move is. I've had great move abroad, really great, each one of them. I really, really loved them, and I was so excited about whatever was new, and meeting new people, being immersed in a new culture, learning the language, blah blah blah. Okay, all of that stuff that I've shared before. And I was actually consistently uprooting myself, because each one of those times that I moved abroad, I actually went through a major life transition where things changed for me internally and externally. But at the time, I had no space to think about, this is a life transition. And that showed eventually, life caught up big time with me when I eventually settled in Scotland. But the point is, in this major life transition, which is like moving abroad, the only constant that we have is the relationship with ourselves. And yet, we do have a tendency to ignore it and to prioritize all the other relationships. The relationship with a partner, with a family, with the friends, with the working environment, with our new home, with like the flight company. Okay, everything else is more important than the relationship with ourselves. And that's why I want to dedicate this very first episode of this new season about the relationship with ourselves. Whenever life feels unsteady, so we are homesick or lonely, we're going through a major job change, and we're buying a house, or we're breaking up with partners. Whenever we feel overwhelmed, and I wouldn't be surprised if you are indeed overwhelmed by the state of the world right now, we are left with who we are and how we connect to our own experiences. And the way that we treat ourselves and talk to ourselves and show up for ourselves, in reality, it reflects hugely on the way we actually talk to others and are with others. So, for example, if we are fearful of looking inwards and see who we really are, we may be fearful to show that to others. And so we may urge to wear a mask to connect. And that really gets in the way of connecting. And I'm sure that you're feeling it too, if that's the case, that it's very difficult to actually get closer when there is such a big mask. And it's threatening. It's really scary, actually, to let the mask go. But that, to me, is a sign that, like, the relationship with yourself is difficult. And I am sure that that's not something that just magically appeared as you moved abroad. I'm sure that that's something that you brought with you. And so, to me, there are, like, a lot of wounds that happen in relation to the way we relate to ourselves that have happened way before we moved abroad. And maybe they do not even belong to us. They belong to past generations and past places, and, you know, how structures are built around us. The thing about life abroad, though, is that the relationship with ourselves is really put under the microscope. And we are really facing with the big question of, like, who am I? Who am I really? And maybe in the past we could avoid this question, but life abroad says no, you have to face it right now. And that's because, you know, familiar structures that were there to support us and keep us in a way safe, if we may say so, in a way we didn't have to challenge that sense of self much, because those structures, although limiting for some of us, they were there. And they were not moving, and we knew them. And so we didn't have to face those very questions that life abroad actually keeps on poking us to explore. And just to make it clear, I'm not suggesting that life in our country of origin was great and we never had to question who we are. I'm sure that all of those structures that I mentioned, they're, you know, in a way like familiar. I'm not saying that were structures that we all agreed with and comply to. But it's true, and for many of us, actually, it's true also that because we challenged those very structures, that we decided to move abroad. But once we move abroad and there is nothing that is familiar, and there is no support network, and all those cultural subtleties in the way that we talk and we gesture and we say thank you and we greet people and we say goodbyes, like, all of this is not there. So we are exploring a part of ourselves that we didn't know existed, because it could not exist because we were not abroad. You know, we were not someone else. We didn't explore the part of us who's living in that unfamiliar place. One of the ways that I love to look at this, or another lens or layer we could give to the relationship with ourselves, is to consider the self as an ecosystem. Why do I love this? Because I love the idea that each part of us, so our thoughts and emotions and body sensations and memories, they all play a role in maintaining balance. And the thing being that living abroad often disrupts this balance, and it offers us at the same time an opportunity to rebuild this ecosystem in new ways. If you're interested in this concept and you would like to know more, I'm starting a newsletter as of this month with this episode, talking exactly about this concept and offering you some guiding questions around this. So if you want to explore further, please just subscribe. The link is in the description. In this episode, though, what I'm really interested in about this concept of ecosystem of self is that the moment that we move abroad, the way that it's challenged is by having, external inputs, so language, culture, subtleties, habits, customs, okay? All of that is actually asking us not only to review who we are, but it's asking us to say, how much are you willing to give away of yourself so you can actually adapt to us, new country, new people, new habits, new customs. And so in reality, yes, we're pushed to look into ourselves and to make sense of who we are and understand what we like and what we don't like, what we want, what we need. But at the same time, we are also asked to conform to something, right? Like, because we need to belong. We need to belong to survive. It's part of our human nature. We are born in relation to others, in relation to our caregivers, so they can actually make us survive as when we are babies, because we don't have other tools to actually be alive in this world without adults. Again, moving abroad is a big life transition. Living abroad eventually won't feel like a life transition anymore. Eventually we will settle. But the process of moving abroad and settling is a process of challenging the ecosystem that is trying to keep balance, that is trying to protect us from adaptation. It's trying to protect us from hurt. Our system doesn't necessarily want to change, it wants to keep the status quo, and we are really challenging it. My question for you is, what parts of you are struggling to find balance, to find this specific balance? What parts of you are actually thriving in this new environment? What it is that you really want to keep close to you, that you don't want to let go. Usually, like in therapy, people come to me and there are parts of themselves that really want to change. But also, as therapy progresses, there are parts that people do not tend to want to let go of. Like, I remember deeply the parts that I didn't want to let go of. And I thought, oh my God, therapy is going to ask me to change all of this. And, when moving abroad, something similar happens. There are parts of ourselves that we, are very reluctant to let go of. But maybe it's not about letting go of those parts that we really cherish because they're really dear to us. Maybe it's a matter of how can I actually shape this so it can work for me right now without causing a massive disruption, but without even keeping me out of the possibility of connecting with the new reality. As we are approaching the end of our very first episode of season 4, there is one question that I'm asking you, considering everything that we talked today. The first question is, what it is the most neglected part of your ecosystem and why? And then you can journal about it, you can write music about that, create art about it, do whatever, just let it out of your system and then Do whatever with it. Do you want to create art and then destroy it? Go for it. Do you want to write it on a piece of paper and then chuck it in a bin? Do it. You do whatever you want with that information that is finally leaving your body in a process of letting go. The other part is actually this one. How do you think this neglected part is acting out or playing a role in the way that you relate to others, to the places around you? And then how is that part connecting or communicating to the other parts of you? What is the relationship? Because ultimately in this season we're just talking about that. We're talking about relationships, and what best way than starting from ourselves. We are again at the end of another episode of We Are Here Too, a podcast about mental health and life abroad. Thank you very much for joining me and tuning in. I'm looking forward to reconnect next week. Bye.